Hello friends, I'm back for part 2 and I'm going to go from week 3 to week 12 and you can watch the first video so you know more about what it is about. This bullet journal is based on the Artist Way book. It's a 12-week series of lessons, and I did it last year starting in August. Let's see, starting August 15th, I think. Yes, and ending in November, the very end of November. It's only supposed to take you 12 weeks. It obviously took me more. To recap, I did show the first 3 lessons in the first video. Okay. So week 3 was recovering a sense of power. Again, I have a quote from the book over here. This was by Martha Graham, which, you know, sang to me because she was a unique choreographer and dancer. I talked about the key concepts, the things that were talked about in the book in this lesson, the 3rd week: synchronicity. When you desire something, you ask for it, you believe that it's going to happen, and you receive. Shame. And I talked about what some of my shame was, you know, like a sudden disinterest near end of project. Oh, I do that. I start a project and I get going and I'm gung-ho about it, and then I don't finish it. And, it makes me feel bad about myself. So I, you know, talked about that. Anger, she says to listen to it. It shows us where we want to go. It's meant to be acted upon, or it's not meant to be acted upon, depending on the anger. And then growth occurs in spurts. Think of dormancy as resting, which I have been resting for several years. Experiment with solitude. Practice being kind to yourself. And easy does it. And then the next page, of course, is the task for the week that she has listed. Read the 3rd chapter, morning pages, artist date. And I actually did all of the task for week 3. This is the rules of the road when dealing with criticism from other people. And then the first task was detective work, and she asked a question like, my favorite childhood toy, Mrs. Beasley and Barbie hairdresser. My favorite childhood game, playing anything with the neighborhood kids. The best movie I ever saw as a kid, Fame. I don't do it much, but I enjoy walking on the beach. If I lightened up a little, I would let myself take ballroom dance lessons. If it weren't too late, I would work at Disney. My favorite musical instrument, piano, guitar, saxophone. The amount I spend on treating myself in entertainment each month is too much. If I weren't so stingy, I would buy my artist furniture for the new craft room and an organizer. I would pay for an organizer, is what that meant. Taking time out for myself is stressful. I do it, but I feel like I should be doing chores. So she asked each of these questions, and then you filled it in. I'm afraid if I started dreaming, I will quit my business and just enjoy life however I want. I secretly enjoy reading love stories and self-help books. Not really secretly. My family knows what I read. If I had a perfect childhood, I'd have grown up to be self-assured and have a sense that I am loved. If it didn't sound so crazy, I would make my health my priority and not worry about work. My parents think artists are pretty cool. Dad would say eccentric. My God thinks artists are pretty dang cool. Art is spiritual. It helps me breathe. It strengthens my soul. What makes me feel weird about this recovery is just doing it. I should be working, not playing. I struggled with that the whole 12 weeks. Learning to trust myself is probably the hardest thing I have gone through the hardest thing. I have gone through hard things, and I'm still here. Remember that. My cheer me up music is, no surprise, Disney and 80s, 90s music. My most favorite way to dress is in dresses. Look nice, feel confident. Now, I still have a Post-it note here because this was about your childhood rooms. And at first I thought, oh, I didn't really have any childhood rooms. I mean, one maybe. But then I got to thinking, we lived in Boston when I was young. We moved back to Maine, and that was a different room. Then my mom and I moved out of that house and moved into an apartment. We lived in a farmhouse, my mom and dad and I, while I was in high school. And then my mom and dad, my grandfather gave them land, and they put a double wide on it. And then I lived there with mom and dad, and I also lived there with my with my stepmom and my dad. So I was able to find one picture. This is the apartment that my mom and I lived in when the first couple of years of high school. And I have pictures from some of the other bedrooms too that I want to put on here. Then this was my childhood in fives. 5 traits I like in my child self, 5 childhood accomplishments, 5 favorite childhood treats. So that was fun. I mean, one of them was candy necklaces and candy cigarettes. Do you remember candy cigarettes? Oh my gosh. It's crazy. I think about that. It's crazy. This was talking about people that I admire and why, what their traits are that I admire so much. People who have passed away and people who are living. Interesting, on the living list, Queen Elizabeth and my mother-in-law Ruth are on there. And now, if I were doing it now, they would be in the passed away list. 3 nurturing friends. This task was an eye-opener. I have lots of friends, but I struggle to have close, creative, non-judgmental friends. There was a time I could list a dozen close friends. Maybe I am just more selective after getting burned a few times. I do consider my kids my friends, and they nurture in their own ways too. Yeah, and again, my kids are grown-ups now. Habits to change, and this was 3 obvious rotten habits. My all or nothing, black or white attitude. I'm getting a little better with the and. Instead of doing the one or the other, I can be one way and another way sort of feeling. Spending too much time on mind-numbing activities, example, TV and computer, not focusing on one thing at a time, drowning myself in to-do list. And then 3 subtle foes. I am mean and nasty in my negative self-talk. I don't do my yoga and walking as planned. I say I want an organized house, but I stall. I just don't do it. And then she talks about what is your payoff. And then there was this poem that someone had posted called Enough, You Are Enough. And it's a beautiful poem by Andrew Defeye. And so I copied it on here. I thought it was important for this week. My inner compass, I had 2 stories. The artist date went awry that week. I sat down to work on a project. No TV. I was going to work on my week in the life photo scrapbook. And I couldn't find all the things I needed. So I gave up. And so it went awry. And then my other inner compass was working in the garden that week. And, I pulled herbs. I dug up I pulled weeds. I dug up herb plants to bring in the house. I found myself so at peace. The scent of herbs was strong, the sense of beauty around me, the hard work that made my muscles sore. The time went fast, and all of a sudden it had been 2 hours. I had one small piece of my garden cleaned up. And that I had also cleared my head of all the chatter. I was calm and at peace the rest of the evening. I have to remember that getting out in the garden really does stop that chatter in my head. And then the week 3 check-in was the morning pages, the artist date. After my botched one, I did do another one. Synchronicity, I discovered my renewed love of gardening. Enjoyed harvesting and drying herbs like I did when the kids were babies. Rediscovering my love of houseplants. Finding so many good books at BAM last week and on my bookshelf. BAM is Books A Million. Week 4 was about integrity. And this is the key concepts, of course, in the chapter, at the beginning of the chapter. And then this was the week's task. I really enjoyed this one this week. Talked about 5 buried dreams, 5 hobbies that sound fun, 5 classes that sound fun, 5 things I wouldn't do that sound fun, 5 skills that would be fun to have, 5 things I used to enjoy doing, 5 silly things I would like to try once. And if you know me, you know, be a character at Disney. It does say be Mrs. Claus, and I was Mrs. Claus in a parade when I had my dance studio, so I find that interesting that I wrote that down. At age 8, what I liked to do was play princess, dance, sing, play jacks, jump rope, spend time with my best friend, spend time at my Mimi and Bampies, go for a ride to get ice cream, play with the neighborhood kids, make things, reading, sewing, embroidery. And she chose 8 and 80. So my future you, what did you do from age 60 to 80? And so, you know, this was really interesting because I hadn't been able to really focus in on where I wanted to be at a certain age. And this really drew me out. And a lot of the things that are on here, I'm already doing. I'm already starting to do, which is good. Because what did you do from age 60 to 80 is, and I am 60. So my artist prayer, she has an artist prayer in the book. And she asks you to sort of rewrite it to make it your own. And then my life pie revisited. My home was pretty way down this time. And then she talked about finding an image of your favorite season. And so this was on Pinterest probably. So I printed it off. And it's summertime, life seems slower, longer days, the sun, the beach. And then my ideal environment, cozy, blues and whites, bright and airy, beach house, cottage feel. And she also said to, you know, find an image that spoke to you from that. My dream area, she talked about having a space in your house where you could have some things that reminded you of your dreams. And this space is just a shelf near my desk. It reminds me to slow down and focus, do my yoga, meditate, and remember my why. When I redo the guest room, there will be a dream space in there to actually do my yoga. And so this was just a shelf. You know, I had a Mary Poppins cup to remind me that I wanted to go to Disney. I had a pen cup that says focus, a mermaid. I had a couple of Buddhas. There's a yoga frog back there that my best friend gave me. The picture of my little guy, my grandson. And there's a thing of heart-shaped rocks back there, and also a chip from my dad's days of AA. And then this was a weekly check-in. And what I didn't mention during any of this was this week, she asked you to deprive yourself of reading. Like, no sitting and reading books, you know, try to stay off from social media reading unless it was for work. No newspapers, no magazines, no. And I was not good with this one. And I wrote, reading deprivation. Not reading was crap. I tried it, but by Wednesday had had enough of the foolishness. Honestly, it is not something I would ever consider doing on a long-term basis or on a 2-day stint. I read because I learn. I read because it brings me joy. I read because it calms my anxiety. I believe it is a healthy habit. I was truly all riled up about being told I couldn't read all week. Glad I let this one go. I spent a lot of time complaining about it in my morning pages, and I did. I did, however, try to stay off from social media because I don't believe that my social media reading brings that calmness and such. So, but I did still read every afternoon at 2 o'clock. I sat with my book and read and things like that. And then synchronicity. This is so amazing. It says Fairy Rose Cottage Designs, the name for my new card making business. Well, guys, I changed my shop name in March to Fairy Rose Cottage. I couldn't add the design because it made it too long on Etsy. And that's where my savings challenges are and where my cards will be too. They're cards made with photos from my garden. Week 5 was a sense of possibility. Key concepts again, the limits we put on ourselves. The task, again, I did them all. This is what I would try if it weren't too crazy. And I just listed 5 things and what I would do if it weren't too selfish. And, you know, too crazy was salsa, ballroom, dance lessons, see all the lighthouses in Maine, find a major company to buy my designs, turn my lawn into a no-mow flower garden, go to New York City to see the Rockettes. And then what I would do if it weren't too selfish was, you know, very similar to those things. But listen to this one. Start with a small... Oh, no, that's something else. I was thinking that was to set up a YouTube channel, but I think that comes later. I talk a lot about taking a year off, and I think that that's, I was just really struggling with my work. The Virtue Trap quiz, the biggest lack in my life is time. The greatest joy in my life is definitely my kids and Eli. My largest time commitment is in my head, work. But I want it to be my health and well-being. As I play more, I work less and more quickly so I can play more. I feel guilty that I'm spending money that we don't have. I worry that if I don't run my business and keep it going, I won't have the money I think I need. If my dreams come true, my family will be happy for me. I sabotage myself so that people will feel sorry for me and help me out of my messes. I'm not really sure if that's why I sabotage myself, the more I thought about it. I think I sabotage myself because I'm afraid of failing. So I just fail first before it actually happens to me. If I let myself feel, I am angry that I don't take better care of myself. One reason why I feel sad sometimes is that I think about what could have been or what used to be. Empty nesting, it makes me sad. Does your life serve you or only others? She talks about forbidden joys, like do nothing for 24 hours, grow my hair long, travel, take a yoga class, stop working and still have enough money, buy a new camera. And then my wish list, I wish I lived with an ocean view. I wish people could get along, live and let live. You know, they go from, I wish my front and backyard were cleaned up. I wish I finished what I started. So there's a list of 19. I think she wanted you to make 15, and I just overdid. Ways I am mean to myself. I overindulge in junk food. I don't take care of my environment. I do for others before I take care of me. And then items I would like to own. 2 more Cavaliers. A beautiful beach house, a fountain for my garden, a new deck, an outdoor swing seat, a newly renovated kitchen, a garden shed, a greenhouse, a nice camera, a renovated craft room. A lot of household things. 5 more imaginary lives. I did card creator, photographer, herbalist, interior designer, and writer of fairy tales. This was listing 5 desires, having all 4 Cavalier types. I'm really stuck on that one. I would have a cut flower garden to make bouquets and sell. Letting go of work and following my creative path. I would live in my own beach house year-round. Renovate this entire house inside and out. If I were 20 and had money, these were the things that I would do. I would not do any of these now, except I would go to Hawaii. I would work at Disney if I could get my family to move down there, but postpone pleasures at 65. If I were 65 and had money, I'd live in a beach house. I'd spend my days doing yoga, meditation, scrapbooking, have all 4 types of Cavaliers, retire and have enough money, and go to Hawaii. I do want to go to Hawaii someday. She talked about finding images that described the things that you would like most to do. And so I went ahead and did that. And then this was the week 5 check-in. And then this is, oh, I wondered where that was. And then this was the check-in continued. I've been writing a lot about how I could use my gardening as another form of revenue. A few weeks ago, I thought about doing a collection of garden fairy dresses. This week, I thought about using the photos I've been taking of my garden and making blank note cards to sell. My business name would be Fairy Rose Cottage Designs. Synchronicity. Saturday, Lauren picked Eli up early, so I took a ride to the cement statue place to pick up my fairy statues. I struck up a conversation with them, and they are building a building and want to purchase wholesale items for it. I told them about my cards, and they are really interesting. I need to get back there within the next couple of weeks and take some cards into them to show them. Honestly, my favorite creative block is watching other people live the life and do the things I want to do. How many of us can raise our hands and say that that's, you know, I do that all the time. I get mesmerized by people's YouTube videos of what they're doing in life and how they're doing it. And then I get so mesmerized, hours have gone by in my life that I can't get back. So I do talk about that a lot as the weeks go on. And this is me being on the computer and you know, thinking about the things I like to watch. Week 6 was abundance. I got to speed this up a little bit. Again, key concepts. I didn't finish all of the tasks in this week. I'm not, you'll see why. But like read the artist's prayer 1 time per day. I maybe did it a couple of times that week. Reread the basic principles 1 time a day. I probably did that a couple of times that week too. Throw out or get rid of 5 ratty clothes. I actually did that. And if I had my green marker, I would... Actually, I think I can do it. Yeah. And then you'll see the natural abundance thing. So this was about money madness. Again, she asked you questions. People with money are, and I wrote lucky. Money is helpful. Money causes fights, anger, anxiety, also beauty. Look at my gardens. So this was all about money, conversations you have in your head. Then she asked you to pick some flowers and press them. And oh my goodness, all of a sudden I was like, why don't I do that anymore? Why? I used to love doing that and love doing it with the kids and everything. So I picked some flowers from my garden and I did press them. And on this page will be, I need to pull them out. I haven't pulled them out of the book yet, but I'm going to laminate them and put a couple of laminated pieces in here, maybe as a bookmark or something. The other thing was to find 5 interesting rocks, and I do have the heart rocks that I found during that time, or my husband found. I just need to take a picture of it. This was the counting exercise because we were talking about abundance, and so it was to write down everything that you purchased on any given day during the week. And the quote I used was, money will come in when you're doing the right thing. Keeping track of my spending for the week, it was definitely an eye-opener. I would like to do this for a long period of time to see where all the money goes. This was just my spending, not Scott's. This is covering up addresses. So she talked about making some changes in your home. And so I was able to add 2 fairy statues to my garden. That was from the cement place. And I put house plants in Nate's room and added plant shelves to our master bedroom. So I made some changes. It was called clearing. She also talked about sending 5 postcards. But instead, I had made some handmade cards, and I went and sent out 5 of those. 1 to my stepmother, 1 to my mother. I actually sent out 6 now that I think of it. 1 to my best friend, 1 to my stepsister and my stepbrother, because they just lost their dad, and then 1 to my mother-in-law. And then this talked about your favorites. What are your favorite cars? What are your favorite dogs? Things like that. And then the week 6 check-in. This was the week that it didn't happen until Monday. I just had a hard time fitting it in, the artist date. Synchronicity this week was abundant. The herbal course I purchased back in 1995 offered me an extension available for $125. I took that extension and I am working on that herbal course, but I have to have it done by November. I dug out my bookshelf and found some great gardening books and I had bought years ago. Pressing flowers. I used to love doing this, but had forgotten about it. Now I want to press loads of flowers. I need to remember that too. I want to get a flower press. Week 7 was about connection. Again, the key concepts, the task. And like I said, you don't need to do this in order to do the artist way, but it was a fun process for me. It was a time-consuming one, and it took me longer to finish than I thought it would, but it still is, it's something to look back on too. If I didn't have to do it perfectly, I would try. There's all these different things. seeing if there was writing a blog, starting a gardening blog. Number 5, start a YouTube channel. I did it. It's not perfect, but I've done it. The jealousy map, who you're jealous of and why, like beach owners, because I feel like I will never live this dream. Actions, make my now house feel like a beach house. Successful tutu business owners, they seem to have way more sales and success than me. Stay in my own lane, work my own business. Disney workers who get to be characters. I always thought I would be good at this. Plan some awesome Disney-bound outfits. This was an archaeology of, as a kid, I did cover something up here that was very private, that I didn't want to, put out there. So I covered that up. And then this is the past, and then this is the present, questions that she asked of you. My favorite films, I only did 5. Topics to read about, I wrote 16. I think we were supposed to do 15. Take yourself to a sacred space. It took me a while to figure out where to go, and then I realized my garden. I walk in it every day. It is peaceful and always changing, and so I printed off some pictures in my garden and put them here. It truly is a sacred space for me. More task. It was one about wearing specific clothing, and my grandson and I dressed up with like Harry Potter. No, Hocus Pocus, because we were going to watch Hocus Pocus 2. Buy yourself one wonderfully self-loving something. I bought some new house plants, and then the check-in. I did have a few new ideas for my business. Week 8 was about strength. Again, key concepts that were brought up in the book. Task. One of them was work with 5 affirmations. I am a good person. I am talented, creative person. I'm looking at the video time. It's getting long again. My creativity blesses others. I now treat myself and my creativity more gently. I now allow myself to heal. I now treat myself and my creativity more generously. And then she talked about early patternings. As a kid, my dad thought my artwork was worth getting me to dance lessons, even though he was drunk a lot of the time. He got me, he and my mom got me to dance lessons every single week. The person I remember who believed in me was my Mimi and Bampy. So this was just people that were special, things that my teacher who shipwrecked my confidence was Polly Thomas, and my guidance counselor. So, this was just, again, questions she asked and wanted you to answer. This was her goal search, which was very eye-opening to me because it broke things down for me to find those goals that I was, thinking about for in 5 years. And you can see, list your dream, list its true north, select a role model, make an action plan for 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, 1 month, 1 week. Now, choose an action. And breaking it down into now, what can I do? And then 1 week from now, 1 month from now, 1 year from now, and 3 years from now, and 5 years from now. It made so much more sense to me. So basically, she wanted you to name your dream and write it down. These are her steps. And then I did it with one of my dreams here and went through her steps. And then I left myself a couple of pages to do more goal search if I wanted to. And then we talked about a new childhood. In a perfect world, my childhood would have been filled with love, attention, and I did cover this because I don't, it's private. And then she wants you to talk about yourself as a color. So I talked about myself as purple. I am purple. I am royalty. I am wealthy, creative, wisdom, magic. If I am your favorite, then you are artistic and unique. Spirituality is a part of me. I am the chakra, crown chakra. I am the center of enlightenment and spirituality. I am purple. I bring spiritual awakening, a sharp mind, and a sense of purpose. Purple is my favorite color. It's a healing, energizing, light color. And pink is my other color. But I wrote about purple. 5 things I'm not allowed to do. Go to Hawaii. Now, nobody is saying to me, you can't do these things. It's in my head, obviously. Live in a beach house. So I found a pretty picture of a beach house. 20 things I like to do. So this was another list of things I like to do. And if there was a cost or free, expensive or cheap, alone or with someone, job-related, physical risk, fast-paced or slow, mind, body, or spiritual. None of them were physical risk. A few of them were job-related. These were an ideal day and then an ideal day. I'm working on the ideal day, because this one still has work in it, time for work. Whereas this one, I'm retired. The week 8 check-in, and then issues. And like I said, the goal exercise was tough. And I talked about that before. Week 9 was about compassion. Basically being compassionate with yourself, blasting through blocks. This is her steps on how to, you've got a block, you're not doing something, you're not completing something, you think you want to do something and you're not. These were her steps of how to get through that block and see if it was really something you wanted to do. And this was I used the steps to work on a block of my own. And left a blank one, which I'm going to use very soon. Morning pages. She asked you to read through all of the morning pages up until now and kind of take stock of what you wrote about. I write a lot about not getting things done, not wanting to work, but wanting money to play. I write several times about wanting to make pretty things, but then not feeling like it. I spend a lot of my writing making to-do list. I talk a lot about time blocking and scheduling my time, but frustrated that I don't do it. I write often about the mess in the house, lots of wondering what I want to do in my life. I write a lot about failing, lots of talk about feeling guilty for not getting things done and trying to figure out how to stop the noise. I also write about my joy and love of gardening, starting the herbal course, finding some type of creative work that will bring me joy and money, my pride for sticking to yoga and walking, pride in sticking to the morning pages, the joy I have had in choosing 8 outfits for our Disney trip. And then she talks about your creative goals for the year, for the rest of the year, your creative goals for the month, and then for the week. And this was very helpful too, breaking it down for a week, for a month, for the rest of the year. And I succeeded in getting several of them done. In photos, she talks about you're visualizing where you want to be in photos. And I had already done these vision boards for my one little word book. excuse me, and my wall. And so I added them to this. She talked about creative U-turns, which are basically unfinished projects, and getting through those. And then she wanted you to pick out an artist totem, something that you could look at every day and would remind you to play and feel loved. And this was my little Ruby. She passed away a few years ago. And then the little yoga army men were my sons, and he put them up there one day, and when he moved out, and there they've been. This was week 9 check-in. I said, unfinished projects. I have so many of these in this house. They really do make me anxious, feel guilty, and immobilize me. What if I just got rid of them? Panic. Truly panic. Week 10 was about self-protection. I'm just watching my phone, my camera, to make sure that I don't run out of. And again, she had a workaholic quiz. This was the deadlies: alcohol, drugs, sex, work, money, food, family, and friends. And you put these 7 things onto little pieces of paper and drew them out and then wrote about them. I did cover several up about alcohol and drugs. Not to do with me specifically, but with family and friends, and I wanted to respect them. The awful truth, tell the truth. Like the habit I have that gets in the way of my creativity is not taking care of myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. The problem is too much time in my head, thinking, planning, and not enough doing. I don't think I have any close friends that make me doubt myself. She talked about, do you have friends who make you doubt yourself about your creativity? The bottom line, this was the things that I will no longer do. And I've stuck pretty well to these, although I am walking, but I haven't been doing yoga lately. 5 small victories. All the Halloween orders went out on time. I have lost 24 pounds. I figured out 8 Disney bounding outfits. I have been consistent with morning pages. I am a gardener. 7 lovely things. She wants you to do 1 lovely thing for yourself each day of that week. 3 nurturing actions, 3 comforting actions, 3 nice promises to yourself. So this is just touchstones, where she talked about things that you love as being touchstones. And so I wrote a bunch of things. And this was the check-in. Week 11 was autonomy. I'm going to kind of go through this a little faster. This was about wish lists, things that you wished for your health, things that you wished for the possessions that you have. Like, I wish to use my many, many craft supplies on projects this year. Wish list for your leisure time. I wish to go to Disney this year. Wish list for your relationships. Wish list for creativity. And you're supposed to write 10 under each one. Wish list for career. Wish list for spirituality. And then she asked you to list the changes that you've seen since the beginning of your creative recovery in Artist Way. And this was eye-opening. Lots of good changes were happening. And I didn't see them until I really sat down and thought about them. 5 ways I will change as I continue on this journey. 5 ways I plan to nurture myself in the next 6 months. And then this was 1 week of nurturing me. And so I had to come up with a week of things that I wanted to do each day. And I did this. That's funny. I did it in February of this year. It was one of the tasks that I had left out. Synchronicity, again, finding things throughout the program, the lessons, things that I loved that I hadn't done, things like that. I found out that the Rockettes had a YouTube page, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. Remembering my Mimi teaching me embroidery, I bought a kit. Finding another course. And then week 11 check-in, I went to Disney, and I also had COVID. And then week 12 was about faith. And we needed to write some more affirmations. She wanted you to have a God box, and that was something to put your hopes, your fears, your resentments, your worries, and your dreams in. And my daughter had given me this, which is basically a God box to give your worries away and put in the box and close the box. So I went ahead and used that. And then 3 questions. Honestly, what would you most like to create? What oddball paths would you be willing to try? What appearances are you willing to shed to pursue your dreams? My procrastination payoffs. This was a real eye-opener to think of why I was procrastinating. 5 people who I can talk to about my dreams and plans. This was the week 12 check-in. In closing, I am stunned and a bit proud that I have completed this course. Because of work, Disney, and COVID, it took me a bit longer than that 12 weeks, but I am so excited I did it. I am writing this part several weeks after being done, and all I can say is the creative gates opened up, and I have been overwhelmed with creative energy. Still not directed to my work, but that is okay, I guess. I am a bit overwhelmed with the ideas and energy, and I decided to make my word for 2023, create. And then this was the contract that she asked you to sign at the end to continue what you were doing. And then this is just leftover pages. So that's it, guys. That was from The Artist Way. And this video was part 2. And then my new book that I'm doing is It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. And I'm going to talk about that probably sometime next week. I did get another bullet journal, even though I said I wasn't gonna. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to let you go. These were 2 very long videos. I hope you enjoyed them. If you got through them both, please leave me an emoji down below. A heart emoji, I think, would be perfect for this. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the journey. And yeah, ask any questions you'd like. I'll try to answer them. Thank you. Bye.